Hello, Jerry. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of my internal communications video series that I run. This is with thought leaders, and there's a series on spotlighting key topics on internal communications. I know you are an expert in the manager communication domain, and that's the reason why I wanted you to be part of the series. So thank you once again for taking the time to do this. Before we get started, Jerry, if you could quickly introduce yourself for our viewers.
Uh, First of all, you're welcome, but thank you for asking me. It's just really lovely to be asked. I'm Geri Rhoades. I live in North Carolina in the United States. I have been in the communication industry for many decades, and some of you may know me through my training that I did for Melcrum, the black belt training in internal communication, and
Right,
did that.
I've heard of that. Yes, that's quite popular.
Yes, throughout the world. So I might have trained some of you. And I've been on a variety of different sides of the business around internal communication in the last, I would say 15 or 20 years have focused on manager communication, teaching managers how to communicate.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I know that you have this interesting module called the 2-minute manager. So do you want to talk briefly about that?
Yes, thank you. It's called the 2-minute communicator, and it's a series of 2-minute videos for managers or people managers, if you will, at any level. And it deals with all of the topics that they need. So there's over 100 videos and I think about 15 series in 6 different categories: diversity and inclusion, hiring and performance management, communication fundamentals. And what it is it's an on-demand library that a manager can go in when they're having an issue and can get 2 minutes of coaching. In essence, it's a coach in their ear, which is, I think, what many of them need around the area of internal communication.
Fantastic. That's a great resource. So let's get started. So what's your understanding of manager communication? How important is it to communicate to managers, and also how can managers, in terms of their communication to the team members, how valuable is it inside organizations?
Well, it's extremely valuable and extremely necessary. There's a lot at stake. Research shows that 90% of employees don't think their managers have communication skills. That's pretty severe. And yet they're 70% responsible for the variance in engagement. That means if engagement goes up or down, managers are 70% of the reason. That's a huge responsibility. And we already know that engagement drives things like profitability, productivity, attrition, etc. Right. So there's tremendous things at stake, and managers are not equipped with the skill to be able to handle what they need now more than ever, because we're dealing with remote teams, which will soon be hybrid teams, and the stakes are even higher.
Got it. That's a great point. So, what do you think is the role of managers when it comes to communication? Because there are different varied degrees of communication that happens at the workplace. So what is your understanding of that?
Well, I know that there's just been a lot of tension over the years between internal communicators and managers thinking internal communications needs to give the information to their people. And the truth is we can't. First of all, the employees want to hear from their manager. And second of all, the managers know their employees better than anybody. So in terms of engaging them, they're the ones that have to do it. And I believe there's also another debate, whether it's will or skill, whether the managers are willing or they don't have the skills. I believe it's skill. I think that they want to be good leaders. They want people to follow them. They want to have the trust of their teams. They don't know how to do it. They have been promoted for the most part because they were really good at their job. They must be trained to be managers, and communication is the #1 factor.
Fantastic. And I've read some research which says that the manager is not necessarily the center of the universe of the employee, at least in today's times. So how do you reflect on that statement?
I don't think anybody's the center of the universe of anybody's life. So, of course they're not the center of the universe. But they are the people that research shows that people want to hear from, and they're the most credible source. The organizations have stepped up a bit in that research over COVID because they have taken such an active role in communicating to the employees directly. So that's changed a little, but it's going to go back. Hopefully, God willing, we don't have COVID or anything like COVID again for a really long time. It'll go back to the managers needing to communicate to their people.
Got it. And based on your experience and the work you have done, how have you seen the role of the manager evolving over time?
That's really a hard one. The managers used to be, are you here? Are you here on time? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? They were record keepers. They're knowledge workers. Managers have a big job. Nobody just manages, which is actually too bad, because if you were just managing, just think what the support that you could give, the folks that report to you. But so the role has changed. It's much more challenging. That means that the skills that the manager needs, especially around communication, need to become what's called unconsciously competent. That means that they need to have that competence without having to think about it. They can get there. That will take some time. People aren't born great communicators. Most people aren't born great communicators. They have to learn how to be good communicators over time and practice. So their role has evolved, although I'm hesitant to say that, because in my world, in your world, they have always had to be good communicators. We have had this conversation forever. So it's evolved to being more necessary. And the other thing that has evolved, I will say, is the filtering of information. It used to be people weren't getting enough information. Now it's information overload. So the manager needs to filter some of that to really highlight what's important, because there's just too much data coming at people, way too much.
That's a great way of kind of talking about the journey of how managers have shaped up. So according to you, what can organizations do more to empower managers, coach them to be better communicators?
First of all, they have to make it a priority. They have to acknowledge that it is important, and the data shows that it is important. Then they need to make it a priority. So they need to do an analysis of what are they currently doing for managers and what's working, what's not. I know that a lot of communication teams put together toolkits, and they put them online, and the managers can self-serve. And if you look at that usage, I bet you it's pretty low. It's too complicated. We need to make it easier for them. I totally get communications part of their role, and this is an argument we have in internal communications with the managers. Hey, it's part of your role. Here's some things that you can do. But they're really busy, so we have to really simplify what we're doing for them, which was actually the plan behind the 2-minute communicator. Let me give them some coaching in 2 minutes with something they can do immediately. So you have to think about things that are very simple that they can act on, which is what a coach would do. And the other thing is constant support, and I think build the trust, because if a manager trusts you enough to call you up and say, I've got this communication challenge, can you help me work through it? That's golden. That's wonderful.
Right. Brilliant. And as we wrap up, Geri, just want to ask you, what's your advice for internal communicators or communicators in general when they, design programs aimed at managers to get better?
First of all, again, make it simple. Make it applicable to the work that they do, and show them the benefit to the manager themselves. We'd all like to believe no one is self-serving and everybody, let me do this for the good of the world. We really, what's in it for them? That's the old, rule. What's in it for them? And what's in it for them is better productivity, nicer workplace. They'll enjoy their work more. Being a leader that people want to follow. I mean, don't we all want to be a leader that somebody wants to follow? Show them why it's beneficial, and also don't overload them. Pick one thing that you want them to improve on, or you want them to focus on, so that, it's like stopping smoking, although I'm not a smoker. My understanding is if you smoke on Monday and you quit cold turkey on Tuesday, it's really, really hard. But if you go very slowly, eventually you get there. It's a bad analogy. Smoking's terrible, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. Great. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much, Geri. I think this is a brilliant insight. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Seriously, anytime.